tomorrow. I was a person who had to have surgery. I've been on an operating table twice. So I'm speaking from experience, and I hated it. I hated every minute of wondering if I was going to get up from that table. And I hate to sound morbid, but that's what it was. So just work from a place of prevention. We know what works for the body. Science have proven what works for the body. God has told us what he wants us to eat.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Shareka. My name is Shareka Swaby, also known as the Mind Reset Strategist. I am a certified life coach, a published author and speaker, and of course, the host of this show. Today, I have another phenomenal woman with me. So this lady is a plant-based, trauma-informed community nutritionist and health and life coach, right? She has a Master's of Science degree in nutrition and a Bachelor of Business Administration in Marketing Management, right? She's also the founder of My Temple Wellness. She's a TV show host, and she's a published author as well, and the list goes on. So, Deborah Johnson, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Shareka, for having me. It's a pleasure. Yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation, especially during this particular climate that we're in, where food and mental health folks are actually starting to pay attention to it. So thank you for having me and for inviting me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Anything mental health, I'm your girl. So I love this topic. All right, so let's jump right into it. First, I want to ask you, tell us a little bit about Deborah outside of the accolades, so that maybe people can help people to relate to you a bit more.
Of course. So basically what you see is what you get. I'm a I'm a fun-loving person. I don't take myself too seriously. I mean, I need to do what I need to do when I'm in my work environments, but generally outside of that, I'm very playful. In terms of like things that I like to do, I love to travel. I do love to cook. That's a part of, my passion. I do love to cook. I was born and raised in the Caribbean, in the beautiful island of Jamaica. I'm a proud Jamaican. Bra, bra, bra. And I could act out as a Jamaican if I so choose, but I don't choose to. But yeah, so proud Jamaican, born and raised, came up to the States when I was a teenager, and just been heavy in learning and trying to build myself up in my career. But beyond that, I mean, I'm a stepmother. I have a husband. I'm married. What else can I tell you? I live in New York. Yeah, I mean, so much. I have a lot of layers, but
Right.
I can't forget this. I am in love with Jesus Christ. That is actually from where I sort of do everything else, right? So I do relationships from a space of my relationship that I have with Christ. So that's really one of the biggest things about me, is that I'm, a lover and a follower of Christ. So.
Awesome. Super. All right. You grew up in Jamaica, and from Jamaican to Jamaican, what was growing up in Jamaica like for you?
Yes. So I was raised on a farm, and we had everything: chickens, cows, pigs, goats. We had land where we planted things. I was known as the tree climber. I had my own tree, specifically a tangerine tree that I fell out of many times, got
Oh,
chased by
wow.
dogs. But I had a great childhood. I mean, I have a big family, so there's six of us in total. And yeah, we just had a great time on the farm. We basically had to plant stuff. We reaped things. We went to what we call grong, got grong, go dig up the yam
Yeah. Yeah.
and the potato and everything like that. My brothers, had to milk the cow, and stuff like that so we could get our milk. So a true farm where we were getting the food ourselves from the animals. My dad would sell the cows and things like that to the butchers, and then we would get a piece for dinner that night. So I was totally into that lifestyle when I was coming out. That's my background.
Wow, that's great. Sounded like fun. Okay. All right, let's dive into the matter that we're here to discuss.
Yes.
First thing I want to ask you is, what is nutritional psychology?
Well, basically, it's the study of the cognitive, so our brain, and the way that we choose our diet, right? So our brain sort of informs the diet that we're choosing. So they're trying to basically. This happened in 2005, so this started in 2005. It's not something new, and maybe even before that, this came about. The nutritional psychology is basically the connection between the foods that we're choosing and our minds. So food and mood, basically.
Okay, so basically it's looking at how the things we eat affect the way we feel.
Yes, the way we
Okay.
feel, the way we emote, the way we, if we're motivated or not, that's really what it's looking at. So, way we think, yeah, it's one of
Oh,
my favorite topics.
yeah, it sounds like a lot. So it impacts how we feel, how we think, how motivated we are.
Yeah.
Why is that though? Why does food have such a powerful effect on how, on everything? That sounds like our entire being.
Yeah,
Why?
definitely. That's because food has what's called nutrients,
Mhm.
right? Or lack of nutrients, right? So we have, as we know, what I call food, real food, would be considered as the plant, anything from the plant, the legumes and fresh fruits and vegetables and things like that. And then we
Right.
have the so-called food, which are the packaged processed foods. And so
Mhm.
those food are going to impact us one way, the processed foods, highly processed refined foods. And then the foods that are from the earth, like I say, eat the foods that God made, not the food that man made. So it's the man made versus the God made foods, right? And so one provide us with nutrients, key nutrients that our bodies require, and others are really just basically masquerading as food. So some of these processed foods are fortified with vitamins and minerals, but they're still not optimal for our bodies, right? So that's why it's because these type of foods, these processed foods, will actually bring on some type of inflammation in the body. And when that does happen, we're looking at oxidative stress. We're looking at the breakdown of our cells, and that can cause an effect in our mind because the gut is connected. I don't want to go too far ahead of ourselves here, but the brain and the gut is connected, which we can delve into
Okay. Okay.
as we
I,
go.
I actually want you to get a little deeper in the connection between the brain and the gut. So I don't mind. Please go ahead.
Yes, so basically the brain, there's two brains, the brain and then our other brain, which is in our gut, right? And so what's happening is we have serotonin, which 95% of serotonin is in our gut. And basically the vagus nerve as well connects our brain and our gut. So there's information being passed between the two. So if you have a good, healthy gut microbiome, which is our gut, really, if the bacteria there is good and we're able to, which means it's coming from a lot of these great plant-based foods that I'm referring to, then we're going to have good mindsets. Our brain will be functioning well. If we have these foods that are destructive for our brain cells, i.e., the processed foods, and these are based on studies, right? I'm not just talking out from from the side of my face. This is actual, like, real studies that were done that shows that these processed foods do break down, the function of our brain.
Wow, that's interesting. I don't know if you're able to answer this question, but I'll ask anyway.
Yeah.
Um, what difference or how much of a difference does it make between whether the food is organic or has a lot of fertilizer, so to speak? What difference does that make?
hmm So, yeah, pesticides are something that I always tell folks to try to look out for. And if you are able to buy, organic foods, is better in terms of you're not getting that chemical in your body. See, the body wants to recognize what it's being put inside of it. And we are very close to nature. We're close to trees, we're close to plants. That's sort of like a natural flow. So
Mm-hmm.
these pesticides are chemicals. They're the body doesn't like those, basically. I'm trying to keep it simple here today. The
Right.
body does not like, these chemicals. But what I also tell folks is to look at the dirty dozen list. And so you don't have to buy every single food organic. You can buy foods that are from the dirty dozen, which are heavily sprayed. So foods that are heavily sprayed would be things like strawberries, a lot of the peppers and things like that. Bell peppers are usually heavy sprayed. So there's a list and it comes out, I think, every year. And so usually you want to look at that list. And for those foods, those are the ones that I highly always tell folks recommend that they purchase organic. There are other foods that you don't have to get organic because they have the skin for the most part. You take the skin off. But for foods that you're eating the skin, like an apple or even, like I said before, strawberries, peppers, and things like that, you want to be mindful to try if you can to get the organic. I know people always say organic is more expensive, but I much rather spend the money in this area, in the food, protecting my body than spend it in trying to fix something, the prevention better than cure thing, right? More about trying to prevent something from happening, by, trying to eat those foods that are not laced with the pesticides and chemicals.
Okay. So, what are some of the foods that are known to cause us to feel less than optimum?
Yeah. So, I like to give people a short sort of like, so they don't have to remember a list. So I generally, I said it before, eating the food that God made, avoiding the food that man made. So highly processed foods. There are some processed foods that I hate to say that they're okay, but they're not as bad as others. And those would be the ones that maybe have 5 ingredients or less, or you'll see maybe 2 ingredients, right? So if you're looking to get peanut butter, and it has like just peanut butter and maybe some sea salt, something like that might be all right, right? Versus you're gonna buy a cereal and the list of ingredients is like, you know what I mean? So highly processed foods, I also tell people to avoid the white food, so the white bread, white flour, white sugar, right? White pasta. So that's sort of like a standard. People tend to go and grab those in general, but
Mm-hmm.
they're stripped away. The nutrients are stripped away from them, and that's really the issue with those foods. There are no nutrients really. You're just eating it. You're getting the calories, but there are really no nutrients there. You want to eat when you're eating your calories to get the best bang for your buck, because not all calories are created equal. So the goal would be to say, you know what? I'm eating a bowl of rice. It needs to be a bowl of rice that's going to do something for my body. So let me go and get the brown rice. Let me go and get the black rice, which is a new thing that I've been doing, honey. I've been enjoying this black rice. If you haven't heard about it, you need to go get that forbidden black rice. It is amazing.
I
It's
saw
been
it.
around
I
for a
saw it in
long
the
time.
supermarket. I saw it in the supermarket. I haven't tasted it, but I saw it.
Try it. Yeah, try it. So things like that. Just swapping out foods, right? And that's what I teach people is how to really like swap out foods, how to try, something new. Because a lot of times for people, it's a whole new journey. We were raised on certain things. We were never told about nutrition, So it's like
Exactly.
we're having to learn that. And so yeah, just try to avoid the refined, highly refined processed foods. So yeah,
Okay.
and then things like donuts and muffins and things like that. People tend to think like, oh, it's baked, it's okay. No, it's not. It's laced with sugar and it's just terrible for you, especially at breakfast.
Oh, wow. All right. Okay, so what are some foods, some natural foods now that will immediately put you in? Because I know food can. I've had fruits in the morning and feels like in la la land. So I know that there are some foods that will make you feel really, really good. What are some of what the foods that say 5 or 6 that tops the list? What are those?
So I would always say berries, all the berries. So that you could take 2 or 3 from there. Blueberries is the optimal within that category, right? So I always tell folks if you're looking for brain health and you're looking to improve and feel that vibrant feeling, I could sit down and eat a whole thing of berries and I'm not ashamed. I found a berry farm in Atlanta and I told them I'm coming back. It's a blueberry farm and it's a place I want to go back and literally they're going to have a bed and breakfast and I'm going to stay there and eat blueberries. But berries, like all the berries, blueberries, strawberries. Again, if you're getting the strawberries, make sure that they're not sprayed.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, raspberries. And then in terms of things like nuts and seeds, right? So I'm giving you more like categories, right? So nuts and seeds are really, really great. The highest one in that category looks like the brain, the walnut. So I always tell people, if you're thinking of an optimal nut to have, get 3 or 4 walnuts. Those are great, one per day. And also Brazil nuts are really great as well in terms of like, the level of nuts, right? And then seeds, so things like pumpkin seeds. And that's because of the vitamins and minerals that they have, right? So
Okay.
like the B vitamins. So yeah, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds are great. And then all the dark leafy greens. So one of my favorites that I always talk about, people know me about for is kale. Kale is excellent. When I used to teach in the middle school, I would tell kids that, superfoods, right, makes us like superheroes, right? So this kale is like considered a superfood. And I do think all vegetables and fruits are superfood, but there are some that do pack a punch when it comes to the amount of minerals and vitamins. So all dark leafy greens, blueberries at the top of the berry category, nuts and seeds are excellent. And then beans and things like that. So things like lentils, red kidney beans, right? Those are also great. So I'm giving you categories more than I'm telling you, food, and then basically sort of highlighting the optimal one within the groups. So that's what I would say. It's just eating that whole food, plant-based food. And then I'll also say this. A lot of times people, and I'm actually getting away from that myself, people tend to want to juice a lot. And I think juicing is fabulous, right? It's great. You get that, those vitamins and minerals to your bloodstream quite quickly. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm also trying to steer people away from that and have them more eat the fruit and the vegetable. So chewing, right, is really great because we have these enzymes in our mouth that's basically going to be helping us with digestion and helping
Mm-hmm.
us to better absorb the food as well. Because you're not just what you eat, you're what you digest as well. So I try to tell people that too, is the way you're eating these foods also matter.
Okay. All right. Now, let's, we don't have a lot of time left, so let's see what I can get in
Okay.
here, right? All right. So now the food industry is designed to entice you, right? It's designed for you to want to pick things off the shelf because it looks so pretty, and they make it when they're showing you the making creation process on TV. It's delectable, right?
That's
It's
right.
designed for that. So how do you even begin if you are in a place where you usually consume a lot of fast food or a lot of processed food? How do you even begin to begin the process of going on a healthy journey where you can feel better and look better and
Yeah.
just do better?
I know that's a tough one because, yeah, the food industry, they're very good at what they do. They have billions and billions and billions of dollars. They also even have psychologists that help them to tell them when and how to market to you, what colors
Mm-hmm.
to use, right? If you look at, if you have a child and you look at the games that they're playing, they even put commercials in the games, McDonald's, Oreo cookies, whatever it is. So, the marketing is very strong. And so what I always try to encourage people to do is think about the why. Why do you want to actually make this change in your eating habit? Is there a reason or is there not a reason? Like, because you can never force a person to make a change. You could give them, because everybody listening to us right now know already the formula. Fruits, vegetables, we all know, but the doing is very difficult. Breaking that habit is very hard to do. And so we have to first recognize that this is not going to be an easy walk in the park. Our brain has been wired already a certain way. We've been wired to want certain types of food. And the more of these foods that we eat, the more we want these type of foods. So if we're trying to get off that train and we're really trying to make a shift, we first, I would say, recommend is identify your why. Why do you want to do that? For me, I could tell you specifically why I came off that train 6 years ago and started on this whole food plant-based diet is because I got sick. And a lot of times it's basically studies show that human beings don't make a change unless they're almost forced to, right? So I'm just trying to keep it real. There are ways to get off and to try, and I can tell you what those are, and I'll try to try to get us to that. But you really do have to have a why. You have to have a reason And once you identify that reason, then you start to set yourself up for success, right? So, for example, in a case of me, I want to get up and I want to go running every day, right? So what do? I have my watch charged up from the night before because I do like to track my runs, my watch. I have my sneakers ready. I may take out my shorts and my top that I'm going to wear the next day. I plan for my success. In the case of food, for example, you want to purchase the foods that you want to eat. Whatever you have in your household is what you're going to eat, especially when you're hungry. Okay. I was on the road today and I came home and I had some of them eggplants from last night that I made. And that's what I had because it was cooked. It was ready to go. And I just put that in the pan and I ate that, right? Now, was I tempted to stop and pick up something on the road? Yeah. And what did I have in my mind? I had in my mind that I was going to get a veggie patty, right, from the Jamaican restaurant. And so I decided, you know what, I already have cooked stuff at home, so let me go home and eat that. So it's a difficult thing to do. You have to consciously rather, be pushing yourself to make these helpful decisions daily. But I'll give you a quick tip. One thing, change one thing. Start with just one simple thing. So whether it's, I'm going to have meatless Mondays, that's the one thing. Or I'm going to have breakfast that's going to be super healthy or going to be healthy. I'm only going to have one meal a day because I'm going to do intermittent fast. And that's my one thing. So start with just one thing and work your way from there and then see how that works for you. Because when you see results, most people, when they see results, that is a motivation for them to continue. I hope that answers your your question.
Yes, it did actually. And my neighbor's kids are playing outside. So,
Oh, it's okay. Life is happening.
yes, yes, it
That's
is.
the best part.
Surely is. Okay, now, can food, if food has such a heavy impact on how we feel and our emotions and our mood, and we go through so many things emotionally, right? And
Mhm.
when we're not able, especially when we're not able to compartmentalize and separate things in our minds, it
Mhm.
can become burdensome and we get sad and then we get depressed, right? Are
Mhm.
there foods that can be used therapeutically to aid in depression?
Yeah, I would look at it from, yes, there are foods, and I'll take it to a place that I tend to tell people to the way to look at food is to look at food as what nutrients are they providing, right? So nutrients is what the focus is. It's the food, yes, but it's what minerals, what vitamins are in that food, right? When we have deficiencies in our bodies, like iron deficiency or zinc deficiency, there are certain things that are going to happen in our bodies. And so the goal would be to focus on those vitamins and minerals. And quite frankly, I don't have a list of them here, but there are specific minerals and vitamins that can help with things like anxiety and depression. But people tend to not remember that. They tend to not remember, oh, I need to go get vitamin E or vitamin C or what have you. They tend to remember more of like a practical thing like eating certain types of food. So again, it's going to be the same stuff like that I mentioned before. The healthy grains,
Mm-hmm.
the nuts and the seeds, all these foods are going to provide the essential nutrients, which are, the vitamins. We have like 13 vitamins that we need, right? They're the four that we tend to, if we have any deficiency, like A, vitamin D, we already know we're always preaching that one because we need that. We need all of them. Vitamin C as well, for immunity and fighting inflammation and things like that. And that's the thing. These are the things that are going to actually fight against the thing that's causing the depression, that's causing the inflammation buildup in the body. So antioxidants are found in vitamins. So, for example, having lots of apples or eating any type of food that's going to have that rich antioxidant quality, that's really what's going to help with counteracting the depression. So when I study about this, I study more about the nutrients that are playing a role in that, and then the nutrients that are found in the food. And so once I'm translating that to folks, I'm telling them more about the types of foods to eat. And so my prescription for everybody is a whole food plant-based diet. and one that is minimally processed. So not having, and it sounds repetitive, right? But it's really the optimal solution. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the studies that was done in Britain. I think there was also one done in the Netherlands, I think, or New Zealand. I get those two places confused. But they gave the prisoners a dosage, increased dosage of vitamins and minerals, right? Plants, obviously plant-based foods, and the crime rate, the violence within the prison went down by 35% and 36% in the two different studies, right? So these are practical things that we have seen, right? That science have really went in, because it's about the science too, right? We have to look at that part, because that's really what it is. It's looking at the science and seeing what actually works. And so when they gave them for a 2-week period, they were given a new diet, they were given new foods, they were given increased vitamins and minerals. Their anger and violence streak sort of, it went down, and it was by a lot, right? Like I said, 35 and 36%. I think in the British study it was 35%. In the Netherlands study, I think it was 36%. I have to go back and look, but those are some of the signs.
Yeah. Well, what is happening there with the nutrients and the feelings or the mood and the emotion? What's the interaction that's taking place while we have the results either way?
So when we're eating those good nutrients, remember I mentioned earlier that the serotonin, which is in our gut, it tells us, it basically informs our mood, the serotonin. And 95% of that is found in our gut. So when you're eating that food, the gut microbiome, the environment of the gut microbiome matters, because if it's unhealthy, if it's refined, if it has, processed sugars, we're going to tend towards being more agitated. We're going to have more attitude. We're not going to be able to access this part of our brain so we can think and, do well. And so that's the thing. We don't have the same access to the part of our brains that we need to function properly in society, right? That diminishes as a result of the types of foods we're eating. We're more, and also because of think about the blood sugar, the spike, the up and down flow of blood sugar, right? So when you're eating that highly processed breakfast, you wake up in the morning, you're spiking your blood sugar, and then the insulin is released to balance it out. But it gives it too much, so it shots it down, and then it passes the balancing point and goes to cortisol. So you have that stress hormone released in the body, and that's really where everything is coming from, is that stress hormone called cortisol. So you're feeling stressed. What are you going to do? You're going to be agitated. You're going to be angry. You're going to be, a lot of times, that's how it sort of plays out. And so we have to pay attention to the hormones in our bodies, right? So hormones do play a role. When we go for a run, we're releasing feel-good endorphins. When we get a hug from someone, we're getting, oxytocin when we're giving someone a hug, right? So all these different things, and then dopamine, there's all these different things that play a role. When we get the sunlight, we get the serotonin. So all of that stuff is playing a role. It's not just food, but also it's food, but it's hormones. It's all of that. It's a whole thing. We would be here all day trying to sort of dissect all of it. I'm trying to give you like the speed up version of it, but yeah, we need a good balance. We need good healthy food. We need to be physically active. We need great relationships, right? Relationships that are going to nourish us, not relationships that are going to cause us that added stress. We need good sleep, which is very important as well to our gut health. Sleep matters in our gut health. All these things I'm talking about matters in our gut health. And then, of course, water, something that people just like, oh, yeah, I don't drink water. Yeah, you need water. Those are one of the 6 essential nutrients that we need. We need water. We need the macronutrients, which are the protein, the carbohydrates, and the fats. The micronutrients, which are the vitamins and the minerals, right? And so that's really the compilation of what our body needs to really function properly. And where we're getting them from matters. So getting it from the plant-based options, a whole food, legumes and things like that is much better than trying to get it from a donut.
Perfect. All of what you said made perfect sense. I was able to connect the dots. So thank you for
Okay.
simplifying that for us.
Oh, good.
Okay, so I know you are involved in a number of things. So I want to ask you, one, what is the hardest lesson you've had to learn over your career?
What is listening? I had to learn over my career. Um, that's a good question. I've learned a lot of different things, you know. Yeah, I've failed before, but I look at the failures as opportunities because I've learned from them.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't really say that at this point because I think that I'm okay with failure, right? If something doesn't work out, it's like, okay, I've learned something from that. But I guess in today's world, I'm gonna have to go with boundaries, establishing good, healthy boundaries and recognizing that everything that's good, um, doesn't mean that it's for me per se, right? I don't know how to really communicate it so that it's clear, but like, we have to establish good, healthy boundaries because, like you said, I'm involved in a lot of different things. And so I have to really pick and choose what I'm doing and how I'm spending my time because my time is, everybody's time is valuable. But I really consider that I was placed here by God to do a particular work. And I take that work very seriously. This is not something that I've been doing all of my life. I just started doing this, I want to say, over the last 7 years. So I was in corporate America before doing something that I did not love. And so being in this purpose, I'm living a purpose-driven life right now. I'm very deliberate about setting boundaries. And so I've had to learn how to do that. And it was very hard because sometimes you're setting boundaries with people that you really care about and you love. And it's hard to say no. And it's hard to say, hey, this doesn't work for me or what have you. But I've learned that that's really going to be the way for me to then say yes to things that are for me and that God really ordained me to do. Because
Yeah.
being wrapped up in something just because it's great is not what I'm about, because there's a lot of great things going on. But I have to be very deliberate and choose, those things that not serving me that are serving others. So
Yeah.
I tend to gravitate towards work that's going to um, serve my community and people who are especially at a disadvantage. So
Right.
boundaries.
Boundaries. I like that. Um, my final question for you.
Yes.
How do you maintain your desired state of being?
Oof. Um, so it's a work in progress. I'll say every day, waking up, being grateful. And so I start that, so I'll just take you through a typical day. I'm waking up, I'm doing my prayer. I'm giving God thanks for giving me life and another day to do whatever it is that He wants me to do. And so I'm very, I'm very deliberate about how I spend each day. And so I plan a lot. I try to budget my week, my months. Nowadays, I'm having to budget my months because I'm getting calls for things 2 months ahead of time. So I'm having to really organize and plan and budget my time. I make room for family time. I make room for laughter. Something I'm not always good at because I'm such a worker. I'm a worker bee. Like I like to get stuff done, and but I've learned that like I'm at my best when I have time with my family, with my loved ones, when I'm outside and we just laughing like crazy, and I'm not thinking about work. I'm not thinking about the next project.
Yeah.
And then of course eating well. So I'm eating well. I'm trying to do that well. And also physical activity is like something that I do not ever leave out. There are days when I struggle with that because, again, that trying to be, get up and get stuff done. Um, yeah, and I'm better on other days than I am on others. So some days I'm up and I'm out hitting the pavement early, and other days it's a struggle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, my self-care, it's really just me trying to take better care of me
Mm-hmm.
daily. And definitely trying to incorporate good, healthy relationships in that and being okay with having three friends or maybe
Yeah.
two. No,
Uh,
just being okay with not having like, when I was back in college, I had a world of friends, honey. I had so many. And now I've learned like, it's okay. Like, because that's where that boundary thing came in, right? recognizing that you want to keep that, close knit of friends. Family's always close.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like I said, my relationship with Christ. So waking up every morning and giving God thanks for what He's blessed me. He's blessed me to be here and to still serve others, because so many people are no longer here. So I'm just
Yeah,
thankful for life. That's why I laugh so
absolutely.
much. That's why I have so much fun, because I'm still here. We are
Yeah,
all still here. So, let's
literally.
keep laughing and enjoying life, because we only got one.
Only got one. Okay, I know I said one question, but I have one more. This one.
Sharika. It's
Oh,
okay.
if you could leave anything with the persons that are watching, and we'll see you later. What is one thing that you would tell them? Something that maybe you learned about plant-based or life in general. One advice you could give.
Hmm. That's a great question. I would definitely say, let's go back to the old school. When my mom told me prevention better than cure. Yeah, that's what my mom would always tell me, prevention better than cure. So I would leave that with folks. Work towards being in a preventative state, meaning do not wait until something happens. Do not wait for something to break. Do not
Mm-hmm.
wait for you to be in a position where now they think you need to be on prescribed drugs, right? Because that's a whole nother topic. But try to work on taking care of yourself um, now, today, right? Don't wait for tomorrow. I was a person who had to have surgery. I've been on an operating table twice. So I'm speaking from experience, and I hated it. I hated every minute of wondering if I was going to get up from that table. And I hate to sound morbid, but that's what it was. So just work from a place of prevention. We know what works for the body. Science have proven what works for the body. God has told us what He wants us to eat. Let's just try to at least incorporate some of those things into our lives, and use your village to help you. Make sure you have a nice group of people that can help to encourage you, and that's not going to drag you down in the other direction. Come, let's go drink some alcohol and get wasted and all that stuff. Right? This stuff has no use to your body, right? So, or go eat what do they call those things? Those competitions where people just go and eat like unlimited burgers and things like that and destroy your body. Just try to prevent anything from happening. We do
Yeah.
have our genes, and our genes do predispose us to stuff. But I like this doctor that I follow. I forgot his name now, but he's a plant-based cardiologist, and he always says that the our genes is the loaded gun, but our diet is the trigger. Our diet and lifestyle will pull the trigger. So you could have a loaded gun walking around and the
Mm-hmm.
trigger never gets pulled, so nothing
Right.
happens. But
Mm-hmm.
if you ever pull that trigger, something is happening. So let's
Mm-hmm.
not pull that trigger with eating the wrong foods, right?
Right.
So
Right.
eating well, taking care of ourselves, good night's sleep, all that good stuff. I've said enough. I'm gonna stop.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We had Deborah Johnson, and she was absolutely amazing. She gave a lot of information in a short space of time, and I know I got some value from it, so I hope you did too. I will be here next week again with another. Actually, my next week is going to be pre-recorded, so I'll just tell you all about it and share the clips. But I'll be here the Thursday after. So, Deborah, I want to say thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure. I loved you. I enjoyed the conversation, and I enjoyed the share. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure, Sharika. I'll be
My
seeing
pleasure
you.
as well. Absolutely. Okay, everyone, have a pleasant rest of Thursday. If you're not following Deborah, I think it would be a good idea for you to do so. She also shows you how to cook these things. And if you're not following me, I'd love your support. As I say, I'm here weekly with talking to some amazing person all about your and my edification. So thank you for joining us, and I'll see you next time. Have a pleasant rest of Thursday. Goodbye.